All right, we're less than 2 months from abortions being outlawed in Idaho, thanks to the Dobbs decision by the U.S. Supreme Court less than 2 weeks ago. And the abortion ban trigger law put in place by Idaho's legislature 2 years ago. It passed overwhelmingly, remember that, back in March of 2020. That was right as we were hit by the COVID pandemic, and it was signed by the governor the day before Governor Brad Little signed a statewide stay-at-home order. Remember those days? But there were 3 Republicans in Idaho's House of Representatives that voted against it. 2 of them, Representatives Heather Scott and Priscilla Giddings, both from up north in Blanchard and Whitebird, respectively. Well, they didn't want to wait for the Supreme Court's permission to pass such a law. In fact, Representative Scott said during debate, quote, "The Supreme Court will not change their mind on Roe v. Wade." But also, both Scott and Giddings didn't believe Senate Bill 1385 went far enough. Too many exemptions, too light of a penalty. The other no vote was from Representative Fred Wood from Burley, the only physician in Idaho's legislature. He began his medical career in a general family practice, but spent the last 17 years working in the emergency room. But instead of a medical reason for his objection to the abortion ban, he went with a legal one 2 years ago.
I mean, I really object to this statute if, in fact, we're lowering the burden for guilt for a felony. I think there should be very high standard that the state has to prove to convict someone of homicide. And if we're lowering that, then I really have a concern with this.
Well, there were other concerns for Representative Wood. Going back to Representative Scott's sentiments, there were probably a lot of others who didn't see this ruling coming this soon. So when it did, well, we wanted to ask Representative Wood about his Republican opposition. He told us today it's still a legal issue for him, but it's also more of a philosophical one.
They criminalize abortion, and I'm simply opposed to that. Secondly, although there is an affirmative defense for physicians, there is no affirmative defense for anybody else who may help in an abortion or mid-level providers that may be actually prescribing abortion medication. So this basically criminalizes the procedure, and I'm just flat opposed to that.
Why is that?
Well, because I don't think it's a criminal act. I mean, you can be against abortion or whatever, but in my opinion, that's not a criminal act.
Is it because of your experience as a physician? I mean, is this you're coming at this from a different perspective than every other Republican in the House of Representatives?
Correct. You know, I started in medical school in 1968. I graduated in 1972. When I was an intern is when Roe v. Wade came about. I saw what happened, did my internship in Arizona, and I saw what happened to the many people who went to Mexico to get illegal abortions, and some died. From my perspective, and this is my opinion and my personal philosophy, what happens with my health care or the health care of anybody else is absolutely no business of local government, state government, federal government, neighbors, friends, or anybody else. That's my business. And just like nobody should be able to get between a client and their attorney, nobody should ever get between a doctor and their patient, period. And in my opinion, that is not murder. Murder is a concept, in my opinion, that is basically a religious tenet, not a tenet of common law. You know how you make abortion go away? It's pretty simple how you make abortion go away. You make unwanted pregnancies go away, Brian. But yet, you know what my colleagues are going to do? Mark my word. They will try to take away every single form of contraception that there is available, which markedly is going to increase the number of unwanted pregnancies, which is then markedly going to increase the demand for abortion.
All right, so you sound like somebody who is kind of, ringing the bell, maybe a little fearful of what's next and where we are right now.
I worry. I really worry. The lower socioeconomic classes some of them are not going to be able to afford contraception. There's people who make poor choices, et cetera. And then those people are going to suffer the consequences. And You know, that all you're going to do is increase the cycle of poverty, et cetera. I've lived them. I've seen that. And that's why I voted against it.
I can hear it now. I can hear Representative Fred Wood does not sound like a Republican.
I've been accused of being everything but a Republican for most of the 16 years I've been there. Brian, I've been a Republican all of my life. I can remember a long time ago what Republicans used to be like. I'm a Republican. Okay. I'm a staunch fiscal conservative. I am not a social conservative. And this day and age, you can't be a conservative without being a strict social conservative in a lot of people's minds. Okay, not mine, but in a lot of people's minds.
Any outgoing words for Idahoans about your party going forward? Like, where do you see this going?
I'm very concerned about where the party's going. People say that we're no longer Republicans. We're Republicans. The Republican Party left us a long time ago. The Republican Party is no longer the Republican Party. I don't know what it is. There are two characteristics of the party, however, that do concern me significantly. And that is, in my opinion, they are drifting towards a theocratic totalitarianism state of mind in the party. And I think that bodes ill for the Republican Party in the long term.
Well, Representative Wood won't have much to say in the direction of the party in the Idaho State House because while he will always consider himself a Republican, in about 5 months, he won't be considered a representative. His term ends November 30th of this year, the day before he turns 77, after 16 years in office. He said he decided years ago he would not run again after redistricting took place, even though many have pleaded with him to reconsider that decision. Representative Wood told us he received no backlash after that no vote 2 years ago.